Welcome to Latte with a Lawyer, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the stories of some of America's most successful lawyers, figuring out what makes them tick, how they creatively solve problems, and how others aspiring to be them can follow in their footsteps.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Latte with a Lawyer. I'm your host, Jonathan Brickman, and this morning we have with us Kim Jackson from the law firm, and I know I'm abbreviating, Bovis Kyle, but you can fill in the rest if you want.
Sure. The firm's Bovis Kyle, Birch and Medlin. It's a 50-year firm. I've been here since 2014.
Excellent. Good. Welcome to the show. Latte with a Lawyer. So what's your morning beverage of choice here to get yourself going?
Well, I drink black coffee most of the day. I'm a full-blown addict.
Oh, good.
And I like my flavors bold. So I basically drink black coffee, lemonade in the evening, diet lemonade, and bourbon straight on the weekends.
There you go. You gave me more information than I was going to ask you, but I appreciate that.
The coffee today is I have a coffee maker that grounds beans, and so I tend to buy beans that are non-flavored, straight type coffee. So it's usually Colombian or Hawaiian blend or something like that.
Got it. Good, excellent. And you're in Atlanta, is that right? Is that where the firm is based?
The firm is regional in the Southeast, but yes, I've been in Atlanta my entire career as a lawyer.
Okay.
I'm from Kentucky, though.
Got it. Well, that's why you like bourbon.
Perhaps. I went to Bourbon County High School. I kind of learned it early.
That's funny. What part of Kentucky are you from?
The Lexington area.
Okay.
Lived in a lot of different places around there, but the biggest chunk of time was in Bourbon County, and I went to school there from 6th grade through high school.
I don't know where Bourbon County is. Where is Bourbon County?
So Bourbon County is just north of the Lexington area. It's the adjacent county to the north. It's when you see all those pretty horse farms during the Derby.
Yeah.
Those are typically in Bourbon County, just north of Lexington. And I lived further north than those horse farms in a rural area that didn't have the pretty barns and stuff. Got
it. So that's Eastern Kentucky, right?
It's Central Kentucky.
Central. And Kentucky is one of those states where it's like counties, right? It's organized by counties, right?
There's 120 counties in Kentucky, which I think is the second or third most in the country.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Back in the day, they wanted the county seat to be a one-day trip. And so, but back then people were, riding horses or carts. And so one day made it a bunch of small counties.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting state. So tell us about the kind of work that you do.
My work, well, I grew up on insurance defense. I've been on the defense side my entire life. And, I think it was predictable when I was in law school. There was a group of us in torts class that sat in the same row, and we were called the defense row. And we tended to be the ones saying, I can't believe Judge Rose in California is arguing this. And because, he changed all the tort law in the 60s, early 70s. And so I didn't limit my search to that kind of firm, but that's where I got my first job, a small insurance defense firm in Atlanta. So I was at University of Kentucky Law School. I packed up and moved. I got married after graduation, packed up and moved to to Atlanta, and started working there. After 7 years, I went to a larger insurance defense sort of oriented firm. So I started out in car wrecks and slip and falls, tried a bunch of cases, went to another firm and started representing lawyers and doing some coverage. I was doing coverage work at the personal auto and homeowners level at the first job, and then lots of bodily injury cases. And then started doing professional liability work, mostly lawyers. Started picking up coverage clients too, but not so much the homeowner and stuff, but more commercial accounts. And then in 2014, decided to take my practice to another location. And so I came to Bovis Kyle, and I do some bodily injury, but most of what I do and spend my day on is representing insurance companies and coverage disputes, and representing lawyers who are being sued or have claims against them for attorney fee, sanctions, bar complaints, legal malpractice claims.
Okay. So you're working with professionals and defending them.
Right. That includes, I get some insurance agent, broker stuff, and accountants, but mostly lawyers.
Got it. And is that, I mean, that just happened. I mean, is that what you enjoy? I mean, is that what you prefer to do these days?
It's probably the most, I mean, it is the one kind of case where I have really appreciative clients, right? You get something done, you have a good outcome. You know, lawyers take their license and their career very seriously. And the types, you know, when they get sued for malpractice, whether they did it or not, it's a big deal for them.
Sure.
And if they get a bar complaint against them, it's about their livelihood. And so, you know, it's nice to have somebody who appreciates what you've done for them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I enjoy doing that. And it's intellectually stimulating. You know, the one thing that kind of drove me away from the car wrecks and slip and falls is I felt like everything was the same. And representing lawyers, you get a broad range of practice areas. You get a lot of diversity in the legal issues that you have to deal with. You get a big range in personalities. Some of them want to be their own lawyer and they're mad the insurance C&O carrier is making them use you at all. Others are like, you're the expert in this and I'm not, and you tell me what to do and I'll do it. And, you know, it's an interesting area, and it is certainly a satisfying area and an intellectually challenging area.
Mm. And just, I've talked to other lawyers on the show that represent all professionals, not just lawyers, but, you know, doctors and accountants, but professionals.
Yeah. And well, mine are all non-medical, but
Not non-medical. Okay.
yeah, but they are definitely professionals. I mean, I'm broader than lawyers, but that's the main one.
Okay. Got it. And why the defense versus the plaintiff side?
I don't know. So I didn't grow up wanting to be a lawyer. I didn't grow up in a family with educated people, college educated people, certainly.
Yeah, tell me about that. I'm curious to hear that whole journey there. Yeah, how you became a lawyer.
Well, so my mother was 17 when I was born. She got married in time to try to keep me from being a bastard. I like to tell people it didn't take, but you know, so she was handicapped in her ability to perform economically because of that. She had to drop out of school.
Okay.
And so I grew up kind of modest means, depending on, you know, who was in a relationship at the time.
Yeah.
And so she married a person who was a firefighter, and for 6th grade through 10th grade, I lived in Bourbon County. Her family, my mom's side of the family is from Eastern Kentucky, and I didn't know my dad's side of the family that well. So most of my family that I know is Eastern Kentucky. I mean, real Eastern Kentucky, mountains, Appalachia on the side of the hill.
Yep.
The family plot is known as Number One Hill in Jenkins. And I mean, that's like the address. So that was kind of my background. In Bourbon County, we lived on a 15-acre farm, and we raised pigs and chickens, and I went hunting and fishing all the time, and I played football and baseball through high school. I you know, I did well. My mother did tell me, you know, you got to do well in school. So I did. And so I graduated and I got a scholarship to Wabash College. And at the time, I mean, I went to a high school that had one AP course in English, and the highest math level course was basically pre-calc. They didn't have a calculus class in high school.
Yep.
So which was enough for me to, you know, ace the college exams, but I get to Wabash, and I thought I was going to be an engineer, and I went in majoring in math. I took an econ class, an economics class, and fell in love with it. So I ended up double majoring in math and economics, but I steered away from, after taking a couple of physics courses, deciding I wasn't going engineering. And my senior year, it was my mom was now remarried to a different person. He suggested that I had a talent, skill set appropriate for law school. Didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have any family, there wasn't a family business to go into.
Yeah.
So I looked at law school. I bought the Princeton LSAT prep course, I think. Well, I don't know. I bought one of the books. It's about 2 inches thick, right?
Yep.
Basically, I studied that book from front to back, and then I went and I took the LSAT and I killed it. I'm very good at standardized tests. So
you got a good brain, obviously. Yeah.
Well, I'm good at standardized tests. I took, and so I got a scholarship to the University of Kentucky. That was full tuition, and I had a place to live there. I got into some other schools, Northwestern, Vandy, IU, U of I, and Wabash is in Indiana. So I was looking basically in the Midwest.
Yep.
And I just decided that the student loan, at that point, my mom was getting divorced again. I knew that college was law school was going to be all on my ticket. I was fortunate to get out of Wabash without a loan, but I decided that the amount of money I'd have to borrow to go to UK would be extremely much less than it would be those other schools.
Sure.
And so that's what I did. And I was in love at the time. And UK was only 4 hours away from her, whereas Vandy was 8.
Yeah. There you go.
So that was a factor, I guess. Plus I was a UK fan. So it's like free student basketball tickets and free student football tickets. There was a lot of factors that led me to UK.
Yeah, there you go. It was well thought out. I mean.
But anyway, that's why I ended up at UK. And then I did well in law school. And so, but I didn't have any contacts. So I'm trying to get jobs. And I'm mostly looking for corporate work or tort work. And I sent up 600 resumes, and I got a job at an insurance defense firm in Atlanta. And so I took that.
Your story, it's interesting. I just read the book not long ago, Hillbilly Elegy, J.D. Vance's story.
So there's a story in there. I've read it.
Yeah.
JD's gone off into politics, but that book is, I thought, quite good. And there's a scene in there, and he did it in the movie too, although they changed it in the movie a little bit. But there's a scene in there where he's at a dinner party, and he doesn't know, he feels out of place because it's a class that he's not been into.
Doesn't know how to use the silverware.
Doesn't know how to silverware.
Right.
So I wouldn't have had his problem per se. When I was growing up, I had a family that wasn't related to me that helped my mom take care of me. And I was given an etiquette book as a child, and I read it. And when I was at Wabash, I was in a fraternity, and we taught the pledges etiquette, so they could do formal dinners, and we'd have professors over for dinners and things like that. So I had that training, but I still wasn't used to being in certain places. So when I got to law school, I got a job interview with a silk stocking firm in Cincinnati, got to the second round of interviews, and I went to that, and they took us to lunch at, I don't know, some fancy Italian restaurant in downtown Cincinnati. And they hand me the menu, and it's in Italian. And, the guy keeps coming up and sweeping my breadcrumbs after every bite, just making me nervous as heck. And they anyway, I didn't know how to pronounce anything on the menu.
Well, it was in Italian. I mean, who wouldn't have?
And so I point at the waiter and try to say something on the menu to him, and I butcher it, but I'm whispering to him and pointing so that he doesn't have to say anything, and we can just move on, right? Like, I don't even know what I'm ordering. I think it's chicken because, POLLO's in there, and I'm like, I think Spanish. I had Spanish. I think that might be chicken. So anyway, I'm ordering that. And he corrects my pronunciation out loud for the whole table. And when he does, I realize it's a common Italian word that I probably should have recognized. And I'm like, well, this job's over. I was like, forget it. The rest of the day, I couldn't get that out of my head. I probably went to the cocktail party and was just standing there, just dejected.
Right.
But I felt that class distinction. And when I read that story in Hillbilly Elegy, it brought that one home.
Yeah. No, that's why. I mean, when I'm listening to your story, and it's what immediately came to mind, listening to his story. Similar. His mother had lots of different husbands, and he was a bright guy, and anyway, not dissimilar.
Well, like I said, it's a different story, but there's some parallels.
But I mean, I worked.
I didn't have to do. By the way, I just make it clear, I didn't have to deal with many of the family issues. There was no abuse. I didn't have to deal with abuse, certainly.
Or addiction, all those kind of things.
Right, addiction. I didn't have to deal with anything.
Yeah. But it's not an uncommon story in that part of Kentucky. I used to work with a guy that was from Eastern Kentucky, went to the University of Kentucky. He was a professor at Morehead State, and we used to talk a lot about that. I mean, most of the students that went to that school were first generation students.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
I would. Some of my cousins have gone there.
Okay.
Younger cousins than me, but second cousin.
Yeah.
Extended family.
So we've had many discussions about that interesting part of the country. Anyway, but it's a great story, and what's interesting too is that everything gets sort of stereotyped in life, but there are plenty of bright people that come from everywhere in all kinds of circumstances. It has nothing to do with it. If you have an opportunity, you can be successful. So,
well, I kind of believe that there's a lot of ways to get success in this country, and I just feel very lucky to have had the opportunities I've had.
Yeah. Anyway, it's interesting, very interesting. I appreciate you telling me that. So, give me an example of a great case that you've worked on. I mean, I know you said you get a lot of satisfaction out of helping these professionals. Is there anyone that stands out?
I mean, yeah, there's some. I mean, there's some funny ones here and there, and coverage cases can get you some weird fact patterns. I do as much coverage as anything, probably as much as all the other stuff combined nowadays. And there were probably 10 years where I was doing more lawyers than anything.
Yep.
So about a decade ago, I had a legal malpractice case involving a significantly sized company or law firm that engaged in a lot of community association work. And there was a claim against it by a condominium association. And the claim is that, we had wanted you to bring a construction defect lawsuit against the company that built our condo. And you failed to do it in time and blew the statute of limitations. And so we've worked this case up, dealing with it. And the plaintiffs were claiming that, and they claim we had a meeting with my client. And in that meeting, we said, bring the lawsuit, do it in a timely manner. And my client was adamant. No, they told me they didn't want to go to the expense of that lawsuit, that they wanted me to rattle my saber and get as much concession from the builders as we could. There was a later meeting with the builder without the lawyer there, and the builders agreed to do a bunch of work. And so they did that work. He sent a letter rattling the saber, so his conduct was consistent with his version. He sent a letter rattling the saber, and then and then they came in and did some work. But after it was all done, he ended up the president of the condo association, who thought of himself as he was a real estate professional and thought of himself as a very wise guy. Went out and hired another law firm. They brought a lawsuit. It went through the works, but eventually they lost, and it was deemed untimely. And so he brings a claim against my client. And during that process, I'm reporting the carrier. It's two lawsuits in one, right? It's was there malpractice? Were we told to file the lawsuit? And two, would the lawsuit have been successful? So you had the construction lawsuit. And so we were defending both, right? We were saying construction lawsuit wouldn't have been successful, but we weren't told. We told you when the statute of limitations was, you said you didn't want to sue, you wanted to do this other route, which we did. So the insurance company gave me a 0% chance of winning on liability, but about a 70% chance of winning on the construction issues. In other words, even if we had been liable, the construction lawsuit wasn't worth that much. There were a lot of defenses to it. So we ended up having to try the case. During the same time, and I'm going to really kind of tell two stories here.
Sure.
I'm defending an accountant in another county in Georgia. And the case gets put on, this legal mal case gets put on the calendar on the Monday, whatever date it was, let's say July 5. The next Monday, July 12, the accounting malpractice case is supposed to go to trial. But my legal mal case is expected to take 2 weeks. So I get one of my partners involved in the accounting case. I get him up to speed and I say, if this goes, you go try it. So we go and we try the legal mal case. During the case, the case went strategically as well as I could have hoped. I set up the president of the association, gave him many opportunities to tell what I believe to be the truth. And, the biggest thing that ended up happening is a witness who wasn't deposed by anybody, but who I talked to, she was the defense lawyer for the condominium construction company. Mm. And so she was a partner in a firm, and she was very vibrant personality, very attractive woman who has succeeded big time in representing construction companies. So you got to imagine the personality that you need for a woman to get construction companies to hire you for construction lawsuits.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a former associate who's general counsel of a construction company. That's a different breed of, those are dudes over there,
All right.
So, but she was really good. And she talked to me about that meeting that my guy wasn't at. And the guy said during the meeting, they're my condo lawyers. I'm going to hire a construction firm if I need to sue y'all. He's not my lawyer on this. Because when she got to the meeting, she's like, wait a minute, I got a letter from a lawyer. Where's your lawyer? I can't talk to you without your lawyer. It's an ethical issue. And he said, oh, he's not my lawyer for the construction lawsuit. So I asked him if he'd ever told anybody that. Of course, he denied it during the trial. All of the members of the board testified that the meeting went the exact same way. So I had 5 people testifying against my client. I put my client on the stand. He testifies his way. And then I bring her into this case, into the witness stand, and she gets on the stand and she starts testifying, and she starts saying the conversation she had with this guy. And anyway, the jury took about 2 hours, but they came back with a defense verdict. And the verdict form was there a breach of standard of care? Yes, no. If no, go to the end and sign it. If yes, several more pages of stuff to fill out to get to the damages and all that, right? They said no. So I won it on the breach of the standard of care. And, when the case was over, the jury just didn't believe anything the board told them. If the board had said the sky was blue, the jury would have gone to the window and looked outside. So there's 2 lessons that I tell people about representing lawyers, right, from that case. And one is, people say, well, no, juries don't like lawyers. And that's not really true. Juries know lawyers. Members of the juries know lawyers. They like and rely on their own lawyers quite often. What you have to do is you have to find those people who do have a true prejudice to lawyers and get them off the jury. And you have to find people who've had a personally bad experience with a lawyer and get them off the jury. And if you do that, then the only real prejudice that you're dealing with is lawyers are expected to document certain things. And if the lawyer's documentation doesn't meet expectations, they might presume that the lawyer's not telling the truth. But if you don't have that problem, or if you have that problem, but you can explain it away. For example, in my case, the board should have had minutes authorizing the lawsuit, but there were none. Nobody had the minutes from that time period. There should have been 6 sets of minutes. Every board member plus the property manager was supposed to have a set of every board meeting minutes. And for a 8-month period, there were no minutes. Nobody could find any minutes.
Mm.
And so I used that obviously to say, well, they're supposed to document this and they don't have the documentation. My guy didn't send a letter saying, you didn't tell me not to sue, but his conduct was consistent with his approach. So anyway, the key lesson there was juries will listen to lawyers and believe lawyers over clients under the right circumstances. And there are certain jurors you have to get rid of, but I don't think it's true that you can't get a fair shake with a lawyer.
Yeah, interesting. So how do you select your jury then? So in the voir dire, you're able to deselect those jurors effectively?
Yeah, I mean, people, you've got to ask the right kinds of questions that get people to talk. And that's how you find out the bias, right? And in Georgia, not every state's the same. In Georgia, the lawyers lead in state court anyhow, unless you have an unusual judge who maybe came through the federal system or used to be a federal prosecutor or something. State court judges in Georgia tend to let the lawyers lead voir dire.
Okay.
So we have a lot of control. My question is, who's had a bad experience with a lawyer? Who's had a family member that's had a bad experience with a lawyer? And you get them tell you that bad experience. How does that make you feel about lawyers? That kind of thing. And that's a big, that's usually the most helpful question in the whole process.
Got it. Did you ever get caught where you think you've identified that and haven't, and it's gone against you?
Not in a legal mal case, but I've had situations where I've clearly failed to get somebody off jury I needed to get off in another setting. But I don't know if even that's true. I had a personal injury case one time, and in my mind, I lost the case, although the jury came back higher than I anticipated, but it was below the last settlement offer, but above anything we would have offered.
Right.
But it was enough that I felt bad. I couldn't wait to get back in the courtroom because it felt like a loss. But when I talked to the jury afterwards, a person I'd left on the jury because I had to cut some, I was in a situation where I had more I wanted to cut than I could. So I cut the person, following conventional wisdom, I cut the person that I thought had the least assertive personality that I wanted off the jury. And so, you don't want leaders who are against you. You want followers. If you're going to have somebody in there that you think might be against you, you want them to be a follower. You want them to be somebody that the other jurors aren't going to listen to.
Got it.
And so I made that choice. And the whole trial, it felt like the right choice. This person slept through parts of the proceedings, didn't seem interested. But when they got into the courtroom, this person made some comments from a personal experience that wasn't really related at all to the events in question, but the jury listened to that person and went ended up going against it. And I was always like, well, I wonder how that one would have turned out if I'd struck somebody else.
So how do you prepare for those things? Do you do mock trials, focus groups, jury consultants? How do you do that?
I've never used a jury consultant at trial. But there are certain cases where we will do a focus group or a mock trial. I've got one coming up where involving a brain damage case, one of my bodily injury files. And one of my partners has been primarily the lead attorney on it, but for purposes of the focus group, I'm going to take one of the parties and represent them to the focus group. And, you do those, and when you have to. I've certainly been involved in others, and that helps. Really what you try to do, I think, it justifies for your client, the carrier, if they need to put more money on the case, or if they're thinking about the weaknesses of the plaintiff's case is accurate. It either confirms or dissuades them from whatever position they're in. It can help you open up the pocketbook if that's what needs to be done. And it just, it gives them justification up the stream because there's multiple layers of decision making.
Yeah,
And
got it. I get that. That helps you manage your client. You get an independent input. That
Mhm.
yep, that makes
And you
sense.
find out how, because typically what you want to do is you don't want to put the best case up. You want to see what they do under the worst case scenario. And then you find out, how maddening do certain issues, how aggravating are they?
Yep.
How much
Interesting.
heat do they have in the case? Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So, is there any other technology that you're using to help in your?
Well, I run a paperless office,
Okay.
and I don't have much paper. When I do, it's a wet signature, or I might print something out because I'm going to go on a plane, maybe, and I want to be able to highlight something. And I don't like using my laptop on a plane. I'll use my iPad. That's what I'm using for this. And if I can download documents or email documents to myself and look at them on the plane, but if I need to mark on them, highlight them, I'll take them with me, and then I scan them and stick them back into the file electronically, and usually throw those away. So I just try to stay paperless. I try to be able to travel light when I can. I used to carry around the boxes, and I just hated it. When the technology was there, I used it. So we try to, keep all of that. I have when I have a new person start for me, I give them a list of, okay, this is how we do things and how we stay paperless, and here's how you have to name things in our
Yep.
document management system so I can find them. And you have to put the date first, and it's got to be year, month, day, so that it goes in order. When I name the document, it'll be chronological.
How big is your law firm now?
We've got about 40 lawyers.
Okay. Oh, good.
And so this firm is bigger than my first firm and smaller than my second firm. But we're growing, and we're looking to expand regionally, certainly be a Southeast firm. Some of my clients, I'm regional Southeast coverage counsel, and that has helped justify, I think, looking around, and instead of me having to associate with attorneys in other states, I could have that be, my firm. And so we're working towards that. We have an office in North and South Carolina, so I've got the Carolinas covered.
Okay.
And but there are other places that I'm getting files now that could be covered.
Oh, really? Okay. So, what other states you're looking at? Like Florida?
Florida, certainly, maybe Tennessee and Alabama as well. All the states that touch us are certainly easy, justifiable situations. I'm licensed in Kentucky because I'm from there, and I didn't get that job offer I ended up taking until after I had to pick which bar exam I was going to take. So I took the Kentucky bar and the Georgia bar back to back, because you couldn't get reciprocity quick enough. So in July, I took the Kentucky bar and then started my job in Atlanta. Actually, before I took the Kentucky bar, I was working and studying for the Kentucky bar. And then in February, I took the Georgia bar, and in May, I became a full-fledged lawyer.
What's it like living in Georgia from growing
It's
up?
hot.
It's hot, right? Yeah.
Well, I'm in a big city, so Lexington, and it's a bigger city than, it's not a college town, right? I mean, it's bigger than that, but it's not a big city. If we wanted to go see a pro team, we had to go to Cincinnati, which is about an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
Louisville's bigger than Lexington, but we didn't go to Louisville for much of anything. Why would you? But it's
I don't know what that means, but
well, okay. So anyway, Atlanta's just a big city. It's got everything. I've tended to live at the edge, not in the city.
Yep.
I'm not way out, but I'm in a suburb. But our office is on the northern edge of town, so that's a short commute for me, and that's a great location for me. And I like Atlanta, and I've been here the longest part of my life now. So yeah, I've been here since '94. I got to go to the Olympics.
Yep.
I've gotten to do a lot of great things. My kids are Georgians. I've got 2 daughters, and they think of themselves, they've lived in one house their whole life. Whereas when I was their age, I'd lived in 8 or 9.
Wow.
So,
yeah, very interesting.
So, it's a good thing. So but I like Lexington, and I'm a big UK fan. I go to games, mostly not in Lexington. I go to see them on the road throughout the Southeast because I'm down here, right?
Sure.
So I've got good friends in the Georgia who are Georgia boosters, and they help me get tickets to Southeast tournaments and Southeast Conference tournaments and games in Athens, things like that.
Yeah. Well, those are all great college sports places. I mean, Kentucky, I mean, for sure. Basketball really, right? Not football, basketball.
Well, that's true. I grew up going to the football games. We couldn't afford the basketball games, but I mentioned friends of my mom's friend in high school had a dad who kind of took me on and was kind of my godfather, and he was the father figure in my life. And he was a former UK football player in the 40s. And
there you go.
He hitchhiked. He got back from World War II and he hitchhiked to Lexington. He was an orphan from West Virginia. Hitchhiked to Lexington, walked onto the football team, became a star there, and then he was doing construction work in Lexington. And he married a lady who was kind of a blue blood. She had a little bit of property that was rental property, so they always had that rental property income on top of his job. But he had season football tickets, and we walked. He lived near the stadium. We walked to the stadium every Saturday. I grew up on Kentucky football, so
interesting.
my love of Kentucky football is equal to my love of Kentucky basketball, and we're actually good right now.
Are they?
We won 10 games last year. Yeah, we won 10 games last year. We're good. So this may be the best run of Kentucky football ever, the last 7 years or so.
Oh, good. Excellent. This is good stuff. Excellent. All right. Well, listen, I'll wrap it up here with you. This is a really interesting conversation. I've enjoyed it. What do you want people to know about you and your firm, and what's the best way to reach you?
Well, my firm does a lot of different things. I tend to be focused in litigation oriented. I do lots of things for lawyers in addition to litigation. Like I do the bar complaint defense. I represent lawyers when they get motions for sanctions, like Rule 11, and Georgia has some state statutes where they try to get attorney's fees for frivolous litigation. I'm actually defending one of those on Monday. And then, of course, the insurance coverage and all that. Our firm has a family law section. They do great work. We do workers' comp. We do corporate work for individual and small companies. And we're right there on the web, boviskyle.com. My number and email are all there.
Okay.
We're just a good mid-sized firm that focuses on insurance and family law and insurance defense and family law and corporate work for small companies. It makes, there's a lot of ways we can help you.
Oh, good. Excellent. Good. All right. Well, listen, I've enjoyed it here. So once again, Kim Jackson, I'm going to pronounce the correct name, Bovis Kyle, Birch, and Medlin, because I'm looking at it.
That's it.
All right. Excellent. Good. So, this show is hosted by EmotionTrac, and we are a legal tech platform that helps trial attorneys get insights from nonverbal communication, which are used for, trials and mediations. So thanks again, Kim. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
You bet.